Jordan Lindsay. We have two special guests today, Councilmembers Andrew Friedson and Natali Fani-González, who will be speaking about the More Housing Now package. We will have Council President Stewart give her intro remarks. Then we'll hear remarks from Councilmembers Friedson and Fani-González. That will be followed by a Q&A on the More Housing Now package only. Then we will shift gears back to Council President Kate Stewart, who will then give updates on additional council matters. Then we will open it up for questions again. We also have interpretation services available for my colleague, Marcela Rodriguez, if needed. Reporters, if you still need permission to record or if you have any questions throughout this briefing, you can note that in the chat or you can raise your hand and I will call on you accordingly. Now I'll toss it to Council President Stewart for remarks. Council President, to you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Jordan. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I am so pleased to be joined by my colleagues, Councilmember Andrew Friedson and Councilmember Natali Fani-González, who are here to talk about their More Housing Now legislative package. Before I pass it to them, I wanted to take this opportunity on behalf of the entire council to extend our sincere condolences to the loved ones of the victims of the aviation disaster last week over the Potomac. We know there are a number of victims from Maryland, including members of the United Association of Union Plumbers and Pipe Fitters, as well as members of the figure skating community. We want to express our gratitude to the first responders, especially our local Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Service crews who provided assistance to the Washington, D.C. Fire Department. To all those who responded to the crisis last week, we thank you for your unwavering commitment, courage, and professionalism in the face of this tragedy. The work you do during heartbreaking tragedies is heroic and deeply appreciated. So we send our condolences to the families and our thanks to our first responders. Shifting gears now to Montgomery County, I also want to express my thanks to the more than 100 volunteers and county employees who participated in the point in time count last week that is in service to those who are unhoused in our community. I was able to join folks at the Silver Spring launch point, and this overnight count and survey is so important as we continue to work towards treating every resident in our county with the dignity they deserve and to make key connections with our safety net services. Today, I also want to address some of the numerous executive orders from the White House targeting specific communities, including our LGBTQ+ community, and especially our transgender and gender nonconforming communities. These orders have included prohibiting transgender individuals from serving openly in the military, restricting young people from accessing gender-affirming care, and keeping teachers from treating students with respect and dignity, denying the reality of these students' lives and causing immeasurable suffering. These executive orders are direct attacks on valued members of our community, and we will not let our transgender and gender nonconforming neighbors stand alone. Here in Montgomery County, we are committed to serving all members of our community and preserving the dignity and humanity each individual has a right to. I want to say thank you to our Montgomery County Public Schools Superintendent and our school president for school board president, Julie Yang, for their statement in support of our students and their unwavering support of our community. I want to remind folks that we have resources on the council website if you need them for all members of our community. Now I want to turn it over to council matters and to my colleagues who are here today. Tomorrow during our council session, a number of legislative items will be introduced as part of the More Housing Now package led by the Planning, House, and Parks Committee Chair Friedson and the Economic Development Committee Chair Natali Fani-González. As a county, we are fortunate to have a strong workforce, economic stability, and countless opportunities for residents and businesses to grow and thrive to meet their personal and professional goals. However, one of our biggest challenges is housing, especially for our working families and residents, our teachers, firefighters, police officers, and nurses. This is not just a county issue, but impacts our entire Washington metropolitan region. It is an issue decades in the making and accentuates the existing economic disparities we see across the region and even here in Montgomery County. This is a complex issue that, as I said, has been decades in the making, and no one singular solution is going to solve it. but we are making great strides on our council to address these issues. And I want to thank my colleagues for introducing the legislative package that will come to the council tomorrow, and turn it over now to Councilmember Friedson and Natali Fani-González.
Thank you so much, Madam President. I really appreciate it and really appreciate your leadership. You made the case well. Let me just expound on that. But I am very excited to be introducing and putting forward the More Housing Now New Options for Workers package with Chair of the Economic Development Committee, Councilmember Fani-González, who is with us today, and you'll hear from in a minute. This is a comprehensive effort to address Montgomery County's housing challenges so we can attract new residents and so we can remain competitive. We have heard loud and clear, not just from residents and from families who can't afford to be here, but from businesses, from economic reports that demonstrate that this is not only a moral need, it's an economic imperative to address housing, particularly for our workforce, so that we can grow an economy that can sustain our quality of life. More Housing Now is the most significant workforce housing package that the county has ever put forward. Very proud of the fact that we have a majority of council members who have already signed on as initial co-sponsors as well. And it reflects months of deliberation, collaboration with colleagues, and input from community members and from housing experts. We heard unprecedented levels of public outreach on the Planning Board's attainable housing recommendations. We had several months of feedback from community members and from the housing providers. And we took a step back, and I took a step back, and we wanted to figure out how we could build consensus to make the most meaningful progress moving forward. Combating the housing crisis requires forging agreement on a comprehensive approach. It needs to address the imperative to provide more housing options where they are most needed and most likely to be built. And that's along the corridors with access to jobs and amenities. Our approach focuses on strategies that provide the greatest opportunities to increase housing supply while ensuring access to the workforce. This package does not propose any zoning changes within residential neighborhoods. And it is clear as we continue to hear from stakeholders that the corridors represent the greatest opportunities and the highest potential benefits to support our housing needs as we move forward. This approach reflects our shared commitment to expanding housing options, which has been a long-standing priority of the county that dates back even before Thrive 2050 with the 2011 housing element that was updated as the formal official policy of the county government. It reflects how we are supporting our workforce that's needed to grow our economy, and it allows us to create pathways to home ownership, which is a key equity initiative and imperative that we have and that I know we all share. It acknowledges the urgency of our housing crisis, the thoughtfulness that we need to address it, and the recognition that the status quo is simply not working for workers. And frankly, it's not working for anybody, with the average detached sales price of a home in Montgomery County right now exceeding $1 million. To afford that home, residents would need to make $340,000, which is nearly triple the area median income. As an overview, the More Housing Now initiative and package includes a workforce zoning text amendment, or a ZTA, to allow more residential options along corridors with a 15% workforce housing requirement. Those are properties that are facing the corridors themselves, on the corridors and facing the corridors. It proposes establishing a $4 million workforce housing opportunity fund to incentivize workforce housing construction and to retain essential workers, an expedited review process for converting vacant office space into housing, a 25-year property tax abatement to encourage conversion of highly vacant commercial buildings to housing, and a doubling of the Montgomery Home Ownership Program from $4 million to $8 million in order to help residents build generational wealth. It's comprehensive, it is targeted, and it will make a significant step forward to helping ensure that Montgomery County remains an affordable, accessible, and competitive place to live, to work, and to thrive. meaningful, significant, and it will make a difference. I really am looking forward to moving it forward tomorrow and introducing it. And just want to express appreciation not only to Council President Stewart for her co-sponsorship and support, but also to Council Members Lukey, Balcom, and Sales for their co-sponsorship and support as well. And we'll note the significant and broad-based support that we had at the press conference last week in introducing this from a variety of groups, from businesses to workers, teachers, firefighters, housing providers, nonprofit and for-profit, all joining together to say we need to do something. And this is a significant and meaningful step forward in order to allow us to address our housing challenges and the economic stagnation that it has helped to exacerbate. And with that, I'll turn it over to my partner in this, Councilmember Fani-González, Chair of the Economic Development Committee.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Friedson. And I'm just gonna add, I'm not gonna repeat everything that my colleague just said, but I wanna add two things. One, the Economic Development Committee for the past year, we have been analyzing the office market. And instead of the work sessions that we put together, it was absolutely clear that we needed to do something with those buildings that we have throughout the county that are basically half vacant, okay? So this is in response to that, making sure that we create opportunity to create more housing in strategic places, especially in buildings that are not in a condition that they should be, tear down, but in a condition that could be converted from office to housing. So that's part of this packet. The other thing is that we need to be true to ourselves. We have neglected as a county and as a region, I would say, to build more housing for people who are, or teachers or firefighters or police officers. We're building a lot of luxury homes, and we're building quite a few units that target deeply affordable housing, and I'm very proud of that. We're all very proud of that, but we need more, especially for those who are right in the middle. They're making too much to qualify for the deeply affordable housing, but not enough to buy that $1 million home that we have, that are being sold in Montgomery County. So I think government needs to be responsible and walk the talk. And this is us walking the talk, putting a comprehensive package that will really speak about the reality that we're facing as a county. And it was great to see in the press conference that we had last week, the great number, the diversity that we have coming in. We have CASA, we have different labor unions from SCAU, we had firefighters, we had teachers, we have people who work in the affordable housing advocacy world. Very diverse. And that speaks of the urgency that we have now to move something forward that will be successful, but at the same time strategic, as my colleague Andrew Friedson said. We're going to focus on corridors, and we're going to focus on buildings that are half vacant. And we're also going to focus on doubling our money to create more home ownership. Especially, this is something really deep for me, because if you want to build wealth in our communities, especially Black and Brown communities, we need to give more opportunities for people to buy a home. And that's what we're trying to do with this package. And I look forward to the introduction tomorrow, the public hearing on March 11th, and the town hall meeting I'm putting together in my district. Because I want to make sure that every single person who lives in my community understands what we're doing, why we're doing it, and for who. For firefighters, for teachers, for police officers, for people who live in our communities and who deserve to live near their jobs. So with that, Council President Stewart, I'll send it back to you.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you can stay to see. I'll turn it back to Jordan to see if you have any specific questions on the legislative package that will be introduced tomorrow.
Great. Thank you so much, Council President. And as mentioned, reporters, we are taking questions just on the More Housing Now package. If you have questions, I see first we have Milagros Melendez with El Tiempo Latino has a question related to the More Housing Now package. Good afternoon, Milagros.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you, council members, for the opportunity. Converting vacant offices into housing is an innovative proposal. Here are my questions. How will this project be carried out? And what will be the estimate cost? That's one question. And the other is like, how many families are expected to benefit from this proposal?
I can start if you don't mind, Councilmember Friedson. I'm gonna say that I'm hoping that hundreds, if not thousands, of family, benefit, especially from building more housing. And I'm talking about duplexes, triplexes, on corridors. Right? We want to see more housing being built, and I'm hoping that several of the buildings that we have that are now half vacant can benefit. We are also moving forward a tax abatement for 25 years to incentivize this. Okay, this is a huge investment, and it means nothing if we have buildings that are empty in our county. We want people to live in them and contribute in our communities. We don't want to have places that are empty. That brings crime. That doesn't bring any opportunity. So creating that incentive is key, as you can see it lined up in the proposals that we have. Councilmember Friedson.
I think you said it well and mostly said it all. I'll just note the property tax abatement. We're not outlaying funding for that. We're foregoing tax revenue in order to facilitate something that we want and we need. When it comes specifically to the office conversion, we know that the office market is in really challenging situation right now, not just in Montgomery County, but throughout the region and throughout the country. And we're already losing tax revenue on that because commercial properties can appeal what their property tax bill is based on their vacancy. Because they're receiving less money in rental income from businesses, they pay less in tax revenue because it's based on how much money they make off of their property. So the county is going to be hurting moving forward as a result of these vacant properties, not just the social dynamics that you just heard from the Economic Development Committee chair about, but revenue losses to the county. So the addition of housing not only will help us to address our housing needs and not only to resolve vacant offices that can be real detriments to communities and really harm and hurt communities from fulfilling the full potential and vibrancy that they could have, but it will also generate income taxes. It will generate revenue. It will generate foot traffic for businesses in the area. So the amount of revenue that we generate will far exceed from what we anticipate the amount of revenue that we are foregoing, and in fact will allow us to address the unfortunate reality that there is a massive change in the commercial office sector and commercial office market, and we need to make these properties more productive to serve this important social need.
Yeah, any numbers estimated? I mean, like how much would it cost and no?
We can follow up with you. The Economic Development Committee, I'll yield to
That
the
I would
chair.
appreciate.
She has led a number of committee sessions that have talked about the expense of converting office. The challenge is if you found one vacant office project conversion, you have found one. They're all different, whether or not there is debt on the property and there's still a mortgage, how vacant it currently is, what is there and what it is being repurposed as, whether it's being torn down completely or whether the actual structure is being converted from one use to another, whether it's a lab was a big question, an example in the Economic Development Committee that I joined for versus another type of commercial office building. So it really does depend on a case-by-case basis, and all this will do is help to provide an additional process that makes it easier because time is money and allows for a foregoing of a limited amount of revenue from the property tax in order to facilitate more of these projects from moving forward.
And I would just quickly add that after all the series of work sessions that we had in the Economic Development Committee, we came out with a report with a set of recommendations. I'm more than happy to send that to you, Ms. Melendez.
Yeah, I appreciate. Just one more question regarding our audience. Housing is a major issue for immigrant communities. What kind of access will they have to this housing initiative?
Well, I'm gonna say that as an immigrant and knowing my community so well, undocumented community members already buy their homes, already open businesses. This is where in Montgomery County, I'm so proud to say that we're a welcoming community. We're not checking immigration status for anything. So it's not an obstacle. I'm just gonna put it that way. And at the end of the day, the immigrant communities are part of the backbone of what makes Montgomery County great. You know, they're working in restaurants, they're working as janitors or opening business. There's a particular place where I get my empanadas, and I'm telling you, we're everywhere, and we're gonna continue following our values to enhance and work together to ensure that folks are successful and that every single person, regardless of where they were born, their color of the skin, their religion, their gender, that they can have a place to live in Montgomery County. But for that to happen, we do need to create more housing. That's why CASA was part of the press conference last week. They understand clearly that their members, need more places to stay and to live in. So I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah. Before I leave, I just cannot avoid to ask this question regarding the current immigration situation under this administration. What is the assurance that you as a council members give to the community, and also to prevent that they are afraid and they moved and there is a mass exodus of residents? Just a statement, if you can provide me.
Yeah, I can tell that. Milagros, thank you. And again, thank you for El Tiempo for joining us this week. As we have said in prior media briefings and in our statements, here in Montgomery County, as my colleague Natali Fani-González said, we are a welcoming, inclusive community, and no matter who is the occupant of the White House, we will continue to be so. When it comes to immigration issues, here in Montgomery County, our police department does not enforce federal immigration law. That is a federal responsibility. Our departments of Health and Human Services and our other county departments do not ask your immigration status when you are asking for needed assistance. We will continue with that. We hope that our members of our community, if they do need assistance, they continue to call 311. To receive that assistance. If they need help from our police department, whether that if they happen to be a victim of domestic violence or the victim of a robbery, that they continue to reach out to our police department for assistance. Because our number one priority and the number one priority of our government agencies is to build trust with our community and to be there to support them.
Thank you, President.
Great, thank you. Milagros, you didn't need any interpretation and services for any of the questions, correct?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Any more questions on the More Housing Now package? Reporters, before we move along? Going once, going twice, 3 times? Okay, back to you, Council President Stewart.
Great. Thank you again to my colleagues for joining. Just going back now to other things that we will be covering in our council session tomorrow. We will also vote tomorrow on a zoning text amendment 24-03, which will establish a new Great Seneca Life Sciences overlay zone. The council adopted the Great Seneca Plan last July. The Great Seneca Plan covers 4,300 acres in the heart of the I-270 corridor between the cities of Gaithersburg, Rockville, and the town of Washington Grove. The plan envisions the county's Life Sciences Center as a complete community with a range of land uses, jobs, and diverse housing options, as well as services and amenities for residents and reliable transportation infrastructure. We have worked for decades to cultivate the life science industry in our county, and the Life Sciences Center has played a significant role in establishing the corridor as a globally known center for innovation, science, and technology, and is home to biotechnology companies and higher education facilities and medical services. The Great Seneca Life Sciences Overlay Zone sets important zoning guidance for future development projects in the area. It will encourage smart, sustainable growth by setting rules for development projects in certain areas and including incentive density for developers to earn density in their projects on the agreement of also providing public benefits. In addition to that, I want to thank the Transportation and Environment Committee for their review this morning of Bill 24-24, known as Bring Your Own Bag Bill, which I am spearheading. This bill would prohibit plastic carryout bags provided by a retail establishment and require a small tax on paper carryout bags at the point of sale, with certain exceptions. Banning the single-use plastic carryout bags will assist in the cleanup of our waterways, parks, and public spaces and advance our public health. I am glad to say that the Transportation and Environment Committee unanimously passed the bill out of committee, and now it'll go to the full council in coming weeks. Tomorrow, the council, during the council meeting, we are hosting our annual commemoration for Black History Month. This year's council commemoration will focus on the national theme, African Americans in Labor. In Montgomery County, we recognize the invaluable contributions of African American workers whose dedication and leadership continue to uplift our nation every single day. Their historical advocacy for fair wages and workers' rights has strengthened our community and inspired progress. Tomorrow, we will celebrate the legacy by recommitting to advancing equity and justice for all. The commemoration will include a proclamation, presentation, and video interviews highlighting how Black Americans have contributed to the progression of the labor movement in the United States in the past, present, and future. So I hope you can join us for that. Tomorrow is also Transit Equity Day, which commemorates the life and legacy of Rosa Parks on her birthday. In addition to free fares on Ride-On, the Montgomery County Department of Transportation will display placards inside our buses celebrating the legacy of Rosa Parks, including establishing transportation equity as a key component for social justice. We uplift Transit Equity Day as part of Montgomery County's ongoing commitment to make public transportation accessible and affordable for all, as well as we continue our ongoing efforts focused on racial equity across our county. Finally, before we wrap up today, I wanted to take this opportunity to make a general announcement for members of the media and residents who plan to attend committee meetings over the next 2 months. Due to ongoing construction in the council office building, on our second floor public use space, the council hearing room located on the 7th floor of the council office building will be used as primary committee meeting spaces. So this is office space on the 2nd floor, and the 7th floor will be used primarily for our committee meeting spaces in the weeks ahead. Additionally, some committee meetings will be taking place in the Davidson Memorial Hearing Room, which is located on the 2nd floor of the council office building. Hearings before the Board of Appeals and the Office of Zoning and Administrative Hearings are also held in the Davidson Memorial Hearing Room and will not conflict with any of our committee meetings. As always, committee meetings remain fully open to the public and residents. We encourage people to come, and if you can't be here in person, to watch on County Cable Montgomery or stream the meetings on our council's YouTube page. I think that's all I had to cover for today. I'll turn it back to Jordan for any questions people may have.
Thank you so much, Council President Stewart. Reporters, if you have any questions, again, you can note that in the chat or you can raise your hand and I will call on you accordingly. I don't see any questions right now, but I'll give a few moments. Miriam Shazad with MyMCM. Good afternoon, Miriam.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. Council President, there's supposed to be a bunch of restaurants closed today for a day without immigrants, protesting the new immigration policy and showing the role that immigrants play in the workforce. And so I wanted to ask, what do you think that shows in Montgomery County, knowing that we have a lot of immigrants and, they play such a role in the workforce?
Yes, I want to thank our businesses. Taking a day off is hard for many of our small businesses, and I would encourage residents later in the week to make sure to support our businesses because they are taking a stand today to support all the members of our community, particularly our immigrant community that has been so hard hit by the executive orders coming out of the White House.
Great.
Thank you.
Is that all, Miriam? Okay, great. Thank you. Reporters going once. Any last minute questions? Going twice? 3 times? Okay. I don't see any. Back to you, Council President Stewart. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Jordan. Thank you for everyone joining us today, and I hope you have a pleasant rest of today and the rest of your week. Thank you very much.